A lot of news surrounding Star Wars lately. Of course, we have Mandalorian and Grogu coming. Then we have Starfighter coming, which I'm legitimately freaking out, so excited about. Kathleen Kennedy has at last finally stepped away from being the president of Lucasfilm, and we now have her favorite kid, Dave Filoni, and Lin Win. By the way, I've always said her name Lin Win. I've read her name 1,000 times. I've never heard anybody say it, oddly enough. So if I'm mispronouncing it, please do let me know. Are now the co-presidents of Lucasfilm. And, I have expressed that while I really like Dave Filoni, and while I feel better about it today because being Kathleen Kennedy's favorite child, she gave him executive experience. She made him the chief creative officer a number of years ago. So I've always been very worried about Dave Filoni because he doesn't know squat all about making live action movies and he doesn't know squat all about running a studio. But in the last few years, Kathleen Kennedy has given him more executive experience. And instead of him just being the president, they gave him a co-president. And Kathleen Kennedy suggested, she gave her recommendation to Disney that they make it co-presidents, and Disney went with it. So she got to handpick her successors. No surprise that one of them is her favorite child, Dave Filoni. But one of my worries that still exists, besides the fact that he has no success in making anything live action, is that he's going to continue to go with what has been one of my biggest criticisms of him, is that he is so ass stuck in everything surrounding Ahsoka. Everything's got to be Ahsoka, and everything's got to be Clone Wars era, and everything has to feel like a cartoon. And that's been my worry. That's been my little bit of fear. But Rob, just like the way they mitigated my worries about his experience by giving him some experience and giving him a co-president, Dave Filoni may be actually addressing that other concern too by maybe backburnering that whole Mando-Verse movie that he was supposed to do. This comes us from the Hollywood Reporter. This says, the new leadership arrives with its own set of questions. Filoni is known for his intimate and arcane franchise knowledge, which served him well in animation, but less so in live action. Season 3 of The Mandalorian and Season 1 of Ahsoka dealt with intricate facets of inter-clan rivalry and Jedi witches that were perhaps too in the weeds for casual viewers. That's an understatement. He was also set to make his live-action feature directorial debut with a movie that combined characters from all these series, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and others, but that movie was put on the back burner, and Jon Favreau's The Mandalorian and Grogu is now opening this spring. All right. Now, you're going to see today, as I have seen, a bunch of headlines running around saying that they have just backburnered this thing, which might be true. That might be true. I'm just saying the way I interpret the way the Hollywood Reporter stated it is that the backburnering of this Mando-Verse movie may have already happened recently, as opposed to just happening right now. But either way, I think this is good news. I think this is, and I'll tell you why I think it's really good news. Not just because I thought a Mando-Verse movie was a bad idea, but because it would signal to me that Dave Filoni, which I said is one of my big hopes for him, this might be a big Dave Filoni signal saying, I am ready to move beyond this era. I'm ready to move beyond this stuff I've always just been stuck in. I'm ready to move beyond Ahsoka. And I'll tell you what, Rob, as somebody who's had as many apprehensions about Dave Filoni, I love Dave Filoni, but have been apprehensive about him taking over Lucasfilm. As a guy who's been very, very nervous about that for a long time, they have slowly, Lucasfilm, Disney, and Dave Filoni himself, over the past number of years, have been doing little thing by little thing by little thing to make somebody worried like me honestly feel a little bit less worried. It seems that he has been growing, and it seems that he has been listening, and it seems like he does understand the assignment. And I have to imagine that, Bob Iger would not have put his stamp of approval on this had Dave Filoni, because I guarantee you at some point after Kathleen Kennedy said, these are who I want my successors to be, I guarantee you Bob Iger sat them down in his office and probably grilled them for a while, probably for days, if not over a course of weeks and months. And I am becoming, you know, Rob, I'm going to say I've crossed the Rubicon that if this story is what it sounds like, and Dave Filoni's understanding, listen, we got to move beyond, because listen, Ahsoka season 1 was not good. I'm sorry. It was not the worst thing. Way better than The Acolyte, but it was not good. And I hope Ahsoka season 2 is better, but he's got to move beyond it. I am actually think I'm getting ready to cross the Rubicon of feeling kind of hopeful for the Lin Win and David era of running Lucasfilm. If this is as we're interpreting it and as we see. Now, again, we're not going to know. Because listen, if Mandalorian crashes and burns, remember this was made before Lin Win and Dave took over Lucasfilm. If Starfighter crashes and burns, it was made and scheduled and everything prior to Lin Win and Dave taking over. We're not going to really see the effects of the new leadership of Lucasfilm till at least 2027, at the earliest 2027, maybe even 2028. Actually, 2028 is really more likely. But Rob, I like hearing this, and it makes me feel like a lot less nervous about Dave Filoni. Anyway, Rob, you saw this story. What's your takeaway from it?
Well, I mean, I agree with you. I think the whole Mando-Verse, the Mandalorian from the beginning is interesting because it was a riff on Boba Fett. You know, and then they ruined Boba Fett.
Oh my God.
And
despite the fact that they reintroduced Boba Fett in Mandalorian and he was John Wick in Star Wars and he was awesome, and then they gave him his own series and they completely shat the
I've
bed.
never seen anything like the disaster that is Boba Fett. And it should have been the greatest, you know, show ever. But unfortunately it wasn't. But I think that the whole idea of this Mando-Verse, that they've got their movie, it's The Mandalorian and Grogu. It worked. You've gone to a feature film. Let's table that. Star Wars needs something new. Like and Starfighter, okay, that's going to be something new, but I mean, you need to reconceptualize Star Wars with what already exists and go to its core values, which is, you know, fantasy space epic. And that's what we need to see more of. And you want to see the Jedi Knights. Knights of the Old Republic to me is an obvious way to go. You've got your Siths, you've got your Jedi, you've got a lore laid out,
and you can do it while totally have nothing to do with Vader or Palpatine or Skywalkers, and yet you can still have a full thing of Jedi and Sith. It's such I mean, it's not the only way to go, but it's such an obvious, open, fertile ground to go.
And you know what it does? It allows you could have the political intrigue and the seriousness of Andor crossed with the swashbuckling nature of Return of the Jedi and The Empire Strikes Back. It's a perfect fusion of where Star Wars should be moving forward. And it already exists. And everybody be excited for it. And you can, so anyway, but that's what I want to see with them. But look, I'm willing to wait and see, and hopefully we'll get something great out of it. I want to see some new shows. There's so many things you can do in the Star Wars universe. I mean, hell, I'd like to see that Underworld crime series represented that there's like 50 scripts for that we didn't get to see. I mean, maybe that'll get resurrected because they've already written them. So who knows? But I like you, John, I'm excited. Why not just be optimistic about what they're going to do?
Yeah, which is what I'm choosing to be.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I'm pulling out my Dave Filoni flag and I'm waving it in the stands, and we'll see. Look, do I still have some apprehensions? I do. Do I think he was the right choice for this? I don't. But it's done.
Yeah.
And so now I can either cry about it or I can get on board with it and cheer him on. And I gotta say, legitimately so, if this stands up and it turns out that Dave Filoni is willing to take this Mando-Verse project of his and put it away and move on to a new era of Star Wars, I'll tell you what, that will tell me a lot about him and where his head's at, and it makes me feel more optimistic. Now, it should be said too, though, Rob, we have Ahsoka season 2 coming out, which I don't have high hopes for. But let's say Ahsoka season 2 is great. I doubt it, but let's say it is. It does say that they've backburnered this Mando-Verse movie. I mean, let's say Ahsoka season 2 comes out and it's better than Andor. It's possible.
Sure.
Well, then maybe they go back and revisit a little bit of that. I still hope they plan on just moving forward, but who knows? Anything is possible. All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? That it is, whether it's just happened now or whether, as I assume, it sounds like maybe it's happened in the recent past, that they've shelved for now this idea of this cross Mando-Verse kind of crossover movie, again, bringing television shows to the screen, whatever. I'm actually kind of optimistic about that. That actually gives me some faith in where they're going as a future. Maybe not. Maybe I'm totally misinterpreting the whole thing. That's what we as fans do sometimes. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.